Greetings, captains. Gunship here. So today I'm having a review of the HMS Colossus. It's probably the best British battleship that come out. There's also, of course, the Dreadnought. But I decided to go for the Colossus as I was able to do that, as it's just after the London in the tech tree, and I have that. I find it a really interesting experience to play the battleships. It's quite unlike playing a cruiser. So if you've not yet got a battleships, I think definitely try and aim for it. It's fun to play. It's different to play. And here's some of the things that I found on my journey from basically spading this ship up. First was not having the repair kit on the battleship. It's not like you can't play it, because of course you can, and it can take quite a few hits before it becomes noticeable that you are damaged and this becomes a really pain to deal with. But you either make a decision early on, I think, to save yourself a little bit of hassle and either pay for the repair kit using a bit of Golden Eagles, or maybe, as I did, have the talisman, so you research it up a little bit quicker. And also it certainly helps to play with squad mates that is nearby and are able to repair your ship now and then. That makes a massive difference to survivability. Fire protection, useful, but not an absolutely must-have. The fires are there and they persist for a period of time, but they will go out. And actually a Dreadnought, or battleship if you like, lasts quite a long time, even if there is plenty of fires going on. So it's a really sturdy ship. Now, what also spiked my interest around the Colossus, because I could have researched any of the battleships, because I have all the destroyers for all the other lines. I went with that because I thought that I like the gun configuration on it. It's just different. I sort of was intrigued by the midship guns that is sort of on either side of the ships. That's how that is going to work out. So I think it's worth having an extra look at that. And if you look at the first picture here, we can see that it's possible when you sail straight forward to actually put 6 guns on target, right? 3 turrets of 2 each. You have to be quite precise. You don't have much deviation from side to side before you lose one of the 2 side gunners. But sailing straight ahead, you can shoot 6 guns straight forward. This is useful. If you look to our starboard side, that is sort of your best angle of attack. And because the placement of the 2 guns in the middle, like you can show that later when we get over to port side, but that's your sort of best way if you want to try and cut at a sort of a 45 degrees angle toward your target and not show your full side, broadside to anyone. This is the maximum I was able to turn my turret down or backwards while still having 5 guns, all 10 guns on target. And if you're interested enough, if you go to the rear of the ship and look at that, you can actually, if you want to try and escape, put 8 guns on target. Again, you have to be very precise and very straight. Any deviation from that and the 1 gun will disappear out. Anyway, turning around the ship from the back, this is your best angle, sailing away from someone. And then when you get to the attacking position, which is also quite interesting, you can see here that that's the best angle I can get if I still want 12 guns on target. If you compare that to the first image I showed you to the port side, it's a much steeper angle you get, much better angle. So it's worth just bearing in mind. But it's an interesting thing to play with. It feels intuitive enough after a while. And you sometimes look at the 2 middle guns and they sort of swing around in funny directions. But it's not like you are in a destroyer here, or even a cruiser. A battleship ain't fast when it comes to turn. It takes a good old time. It's not like the speed of the battleships are particularly a problem. Even at the defaults 33 kilometers an hour. Yeah, it's slow, but it's kind of okay to be slow in a big ship like that. It sort of feels like a battleship in a way, and it feels like I'm just sailing in my own good time. And you know what? I will take whatever people throw at me, and I will deal with it. And what you will find, I think, with pretty much any battleship, not just the Colossus, but any of them that you choose, they are actually really good of soaking up damage, and they feel like they can take a good old beating and still be effective in battle. And I had many battles where I had been red and black in various places, and I've still been able to continue all the way through the game, and just use that one ship really. In fact, if we just have a quick look at my stats, and they have to be taken with a pinch of salt, because A, I was playing with teammates and that helped for the most part, and B, it's early days for the battleships, so not so many people have them, and therefore, I guess, although there's some on the opposite side as well, it sort of plays a little bit with your kill-death ratio. I mean, I died 11 times, but I killed or sank 50 ships, right? And so that's almost a KD of 5-1. Also, I got a win percentage of 77, but it actually only took me 22 battles or thereabouts to get the ship fully spaded, at being the talisman. So let's say I didn't have the talisman, it would probably be not twice as much, but maybe about 30 to 35 battles to get there. So I think very reasonable time of play in order to get on and have a good time. Also remember the new battles maximum last for 25 minutes, so it's good fun. If you haven't played something like the Colossus here, I can certainly recommend it. I haven't tried any other battleships yet, so it's hard to compare. But to compare to any cruisers beforehand, it's a real different style of gameplay. The biggest drawback that I found with it, to be honest, is the reload time. And that's probably one of the worst in the game for the Colossus. It takes 40 seconds for a reload, and that is with the best possible crew. So if you look at mine here, I don't have an ace crew, but it is an experted crew, and I have all the skills at max, and the reload time for the guns is still 42.4 seconds. So it takes a while to reload, and so aim carefully, take your shots, and redo. What can be a bit frustrating sometimes is that you tend to have some guns that are loaded while others are not, and that's because when you rotate turrets and stuff like that, you might not be in a fire position with one, but you are with others. And it doesn't always reflect that, because what we have is essentially the little reload symbol that shows that a salvo is ready. But you might have guns that you can fire beforehand, and it would be quite nice if the game actually catered for that and put in individual timers for each turret. That would probably be ideal, but that might be something that comes. I mean, it's a bit more important when you have really long reload times to maybe have that facility. Let's have a quick look at the research T, or the modifications. So I said in the start, tool sets, really important. I would say buy it with Golden Eagles straight away if you can afford to do that, or consider the talisman. Talisman was 2200, so it wasn't actually too bad considering it's the highest tier of Navy. Fire protection, nice to have, but you can live without it. Your tool set is way much the most important bit to get. And I would say in the third point, I would go for the SAP ammunition. SAP is brilliant against all cruisers and destroyers, of course, and you can just use this as a general thing. I did experiment a little bit with the AP ammunition against other battleships, but to be honest, you're better off not fighting other battleships. You're actually better off just fighting other cruisers, certainly at the moment, because you're there to take them down, and the sooner you can get those down, the more likely you are to win the battle. You can spend a whole game just shooting at another battleships, and you can probably both be there at the end of the 25 minutes without having destroyed the other ship. So just bear that in mind. Apart from that, I like it. How would I rate the ship? Can't compare it to any other battleships, but compared to cruisers, it's great fun, especially at the moment where there's not that many of them around. If you have a nation that you're able to get a battleship in it, I think you should try and aim for that as much as you can and just have a good time with it. Take your time, but aim your shots, because reload time does suck a little bit. If you're used to playing the Graf Spee, you will sort of know what I mean, but this is a little bit longer than that. 40 seconds or 42 seconds is a long time to wait. And if you have no crew at all, which I wouldn't have thought you would have at when you got this far in the game, it could be as far as 52 seconds, which is almost ridiculously long. So there's one silver lining to the long reload time. You can actually, with some degree of usability, switch to your secondary guns, take a shot or 2 or 3 with those, and then still be plenty of time to switch back to your main guns and then fire from those. So there's certainly a tactics worth exploiting, especially on those battleships that has quite a lot of secondaries. Some battleships, like for example some of the Russians, has almost many secondaries as some of the entry-level cruisers that you come across. So it's not insignificant what you're able to deal in damage just using your secondaries. So have a look at that, because that might take some of the boredom away of the longer reload time. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the battle here. It should finish in a few seconds. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Gunship over and out.